Hey everyone, welcome back. I am getting ready to put my second project using this month's cards, tags, and more kit together. I'm just preparing some of the parts. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do or where I was going to go, and I was kind of experimenting, seeing how it would work out. I used some alcohol ink in latte and caramel, along with some 91% rubbing alcohol. And I just let these wood pieces soak in it and just kind of absorb the color. And then I let them air dry. I didn't use all of these in this month's project. I was just like preparing because I will be making more spools. Alright, while I was letting those just soak up, I started preparing some of those chipboard ephemera pieces that was in the kit. And you can see I just used one of the large wooden dowels to give a little bit of a gentle curve to some of them. The push pins, straight pins that were in that ephemera pack, I glued them together, 2 yellows and the 2 blues together. They're not perfectly symmetrical, so after they were dried, I did go back and trim them up and make them a little more even. But I did this so it would look like one solid piece. I ended up not using this, but I did use that final square of rice paper and attached it to the Made with Love chipboard, because I wasn't going to use the Made with Love because that's I wasn't making anything that personal. So I just put the other quote from the rice paper on there, even though I did not use either one of those quote pieces. Alright, after my pieces had completely air dried, I was just preparing the paper. I just traced around them, and I did actually number them so I knew which one went with what, because these are not perfect circles. I have them sanded down so that they're uneven and they look more aged, and the edges, some are rounded, some are less rounded, just to kind of give a distressed look to the circles. These circles, this is the circles that I use on the underside of the top and the top side of the bottom, because I do come in later and add mediums to the top of it, and I just have a wax coating on the bottom. I was trying to figure out the best way to glue them together. You have a lot of different options. I have some old Mod Podge here that I'm just trying to use up. It's not going to be seen, it was underneath, but I did want to use something that would work well on porous surfaces, so something like a PVA glue, anything that would work with wood and paper. Gorilla Glue, my PVA glue, anything would probably work there. So then I went through and I just cut out rectangles so that there's only a little bit of overlap after I wrapped them around my dowels. And I used double-sided tape to hold them in place while the glue dried, because I do coat them all the way in glue, but I wanted the double-sided tape to hold them in place. And that's just a bottle of some Distress Collage medium that was in a previous kit. It was almost empty, so I just grabbed that up. Like I said, I have a few different glues I use in here. A lot of it is because I'm trying to use up old bottles. here I discovered that on that sheet of paper was the matching scissors to the chipboard. So I went through, I cut it out, lined it up. It's not a perfect match, but I used the paper backing against one of my spools, and then I have so many mediums on there you can't tell the difference in sizes. It's mostly in the finger holes that the difference is, but I did think it worked out very well for that. Alright, after my glue was set up, I came in with my sanding block and just sort of smoothed those paper circles down so that they would blend in with the shape of my wood piece. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with the Tres Jolie chipboard pieces, but I did want to get them prepared, so I'm just using some black gesso. That particular jar had come in the August 2019 mixed media kit, and I just added it to 2 of the sewing machines and 2 of those tailor's dummies that were in this month's kit. Alright, for the aging of them, to add the color, I used that Stamperia metallic black wax that was just in December's mixed media kit, the reindeer and sleigh wooden mixed media kit. Gave my pieces some coating, but I didn't want it to stay completely shiny because, like I said, it's kind of going aged, distressed. It wouldn't necessarily always still be shiny everywhere. So I come back in and I add in a couple other waxes. Those tubes are ones that you could have got in the November 2020 mixed media kit. That would be the charcoal black matte wax, which is what I put down first. And then the old white matte wax came in the November 21 mixed media kit. I had just bought the matte wax set in the little tins right before it was switched into tubes, so I'm still using up mine because with the waxes, a little bit really does go a long way. Alright, I am just trying to get all the rest of my pieces together. The one I had originally started on is the middle-sized one. So now I'm just doing the same process, preparing my my dowel and my tops and my bottoms for the largest spool. And I'd already done, you can see it up there, I already have the dowel wrapped on the littlest one. I do the same thing at the tops and the bottoms of the dowels. I just sand the paper down just to kind of rough it up a bit and really get it shaped to the end of the dowels. Alright, after my 2 black waxes had set up, I just came in and around the edges added a thin coating of that old white, just to really give it kind of that distressed look on it. when I was sizing my paper pieces for the largest spool, I was trying to get it kind of centered on specific parts of the advertisement print that is on the other side of this paper. So I just held it up to my light just so that I could kind of eyeball where I wanted those put so I could draw the circles in. When I had originally put these in the alcohol ink, I had thought of leaving them unfinished, but for this particular set I wanted to make them match the Tres Jolie chipboard pieces I had done. So I did the same process. I went in with the metallic black Stamperia wax, the charcoal black matte wax, and very, very carefully put those on, trying not to get it on the paper edges. And then I came back in with that old white, and I did keep the white closer to the paper edge. Even if I hadn't planned, or even if I had planned on waxing the edges from the beginning, I still would have put the paper down first, because I don't think it wouldn't adhere as well to a waxy surface. So either way, I would have already had the paper on for this process. Alright, now with those parts done, I decided to start putting my spools together. So I just put some wood glue in between and a little bit of Loctite in for the screw holes, and just put everything together. Now there's a lot of different ways that you could. I wanted to fill in the screw holes just to make it a flat, even surface. I opted to use some quickset resin because my bottles were already getting old, and the quickset, once it's opened, it will start turning yellow and kind of get crunchy. I guess you could call it crunchy. It gets flakes in it, something. So that's why I used my resin to fill in my holes. You could use paper clay, probably use hot glue. You don't have to fill them in, but I just wanted to. So I did end up also, since I had the resin out, decided to use my machine parts and my large gears Ephemera molds to make up some of the screw heads that I do end up adding to the tops of my spools. Now with with all of my gesso dry, I'm just gluing them together. That was just an almost empty tube of E6000 that I used just to make sure that there was a good hold between the wood and the resin. I came back in with my waxes, and first I just did the bottoms. These are just to make sure they were flat, just to make sure they were nice and even, and that they would have time to set up. Because that container of E6000, that tube of E6000 was a white one, I went in around the edges, just covered up that white with some black gesso. Now here I set up two cameras, obviously you can see that, so that you could kind of get both views of me putting the spools together finally. Just going through all of my ephemera. I cut up some of, or the rest of that measuring tape print paper, and I'm just kind of going through sorting out which pieces I want on which spools, just to kind of get an idea of where I'm going. I did 2 measuring tapes. I just kind of layered a bunch of the pieces together, and one of them I just left rolled up. I glued it together and set it off to dry, and the other one is the one that I end up wrapping around the base of the smallest spool. And now I'm coming back in and adding my waxes to my top before I start gluing everything. Alright, this is some 13 Arts rust effect powder. It came in the September 19 mixed media kit. You just spray it down with some vinegar to activate it and let it air dry. So I decided I kind of really wanted to add that around where the screws were, or the screw heads, my resin screw heads were. So I added it in, let it dry. I end up adding quite a bit overall, but like a lot of mediums, a little bit really does go a long way. Now I am to my putting together part. I used more of those paper measuring strips on the back side of this large tailor's dummy from the ephemera pack. And to give a little bit of structure to that piece, I grabbed up some texture paste from my stash and use that as my adhesive. You could use whatever glue you wanted, but I really kind of wanted to give some more thickness and extra strength to that chipboard and paper, since it is going to be sticking up. I came back. This is the ink pad from the kit, and I was just kind of seeing what would work with adding some color to those bare edges. So I went in and added it around the edges, and then I grabbed up some clear gesso from my stash. That's just my stash gesso there. Used it to help kind of seal and hold down those strips of paper all the way, and to seal in that pink ink pad ink. And to protect this chipboard, because I do end up getting rather messy making these. In fact, when I took the pictures, they still weren't all the way dry. So some of my pictures, actually, you can still see the 3D gel medium that hasn't even dried all the way yet. I came back in, and I used the lightest mica from this month's mixed media kit. I kind of wanted to add a little bit of depth to those strips of paper, so I just sprinkled it on, watered it down. I wanted to be able to elevate this piece of chipboard a little bit, so I do put just a big, I guess it's a popsicle stick type thing, and I just cut the end off so that I could lift it up a little bit. On the chipboard sewing machine, I still had some of that stabilizer backed paper from my needlebook the first week. So I peeled off the backing and ironed it into place, and that was for the same purpose, just to give that chipboard a little bit more strength and structure, since it would be so. Now, with majority of my pieces ready, I start the process of assembly. I do use some 3D gel because I really needed it to adhere good to all of those mediums and to hold everything upright well. Oh, those are the thimble pieces. Anything that kind of had a curve, the bobbin, ephemera, and these thimbles ephemera, I would just kind of cut and try to follow along the curve, just to give them a little bit more dimension instead of just leaving them flat, before I added them on to on some of my pieces. I would just put a layer of the 3D gel medium on the backs of them, just to protect that unfinished surface or protect the back, and to help make them more sturdy for the final product, or for the end result, the final result. So you can see what I'm doing there. I would put the large amount down at the bottom to hold it in place, but then I would also add a thinner layer just to give it some strength. I went through, these were all partial packs from previous kits of flowers that I just finished off on these spools. Went through, found ones that matched, because the flowers that are in this month's kit are on the project that I show next week. If you're wondering why I didn't use this month's flowers, it's because they were already stuck down to a different project, so I had to go and just grab some partials from my stash. But all of these flowers, the 49 on Market flowers are from previous kits, and then the Prima flowers I had got. I just went through. I would put on as much as I could and then let the gel set up and dry, because if I put on too much, then things would, or tried to put on too much at once, they wouldn't stay still when I moved it around. So I did go through, it was actually over a couple of days that I would put pieces on, let the gel set up, and then come back and put more on. I think it took me 2 days worth of gel setting up to get it dry, or to get all the pieces on enough for it to dry, or enough for the first layer to dry, and then I put the second layer on, and then I let that gel set up before I came back in and started adding in different mediums to just add some more aging and distressing to the overall product. On this one, I was trying to figure out how to get these chipboard pieces to stay curved. And so I did finally figure out I grabbed up some just regular Scotch tape and I put it on the sticky side out so it would stick to itself and not the chipboard, and just made little Scotch tape bands to hold the chipboard in place. Well, that Alright, after I was done putting all the pieces on, this is a part I didn't record the process because it's really going to be a matter of what you do or don't like personally. I added more rust powder. I did actually grab up that burnt sienna paint from last month's mixed media kit, and mixing it with that darkest mica powder from this month's mixed media kit actually kind of also gave it a rusty look. So I just went through, added more rust to where there would be metal pieces around the edges. You can see it along the top of that sewing machine. I added paint, I added mica. I just kept adding and watering it down and wiping it off and putting it on in layers until I got and there I have my finished product. Well, almost finished. I will be putting some spray clear coat sealant on, but I do have to wait. Once again, I'll probably wait like a week or so to make sure all of the moisture is out from all of those layers. But now I have a set of little spools for... Thank you for joining us here at Tres Jolie. I hope that you enjoyed this project and it gave you some ideas of what can be done using the products or the papers and the ephemera from this month's cards, tags, and more kit. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't already, and share the video. And I will see you again next week.